All right, everyone. So today I want to have another discussion on something that I've started to see a lot of people ask me over the past couple of days, because in the Mari shop, you can actually now start to get tier 3 materials. And a lot of people have been asking me, is it worth it? Is it worth spending your blue crystals on the Mari shop on these tier 3 materials? And I think it's important to have a discussion on this instead of just giving the correct mathematical answer, because the correct mathematical answer is, for most of the stuff, yes, it's worth it. The math says it's worth it, but the thing is, though, I want to get a bit more into this because in tier 3 especially is when the game really starts to ramp up when it comes to the resources and how much you're going to need to put in order to upgrade your gear. And if you just follow the math for when it comes to buying stuff from the Mari shop, and if that's the only thing that you use, you might get to a point where you just feel like you're going too far. You're spending too many blue crystals, and you don't want to get to a point where you feel like you're not able to keep up with that, and then you have to bust out the Visa or the MasterCard, and then you're spending money that you don't want to just to keep up. So it's one of those topics that I wanted to get a bit more in detail with because it's a bit more of a complicated answer. So I wanted to go over a few things in the Mari shop here that actually recently started to pop up. Obviously, when the Mari shop first came out, it was just tier 1 stuff. Then they trickled in tier 2 stuff. And now that people are actually in tier 3, you can actually start to see tier 3 stuff in the Mari shop. But with tier 3, it's a little bit more complicated than tier 1 and tier 2. There's actually some new stuff in the shop that actually pops up. And also, very importantly, you'll notice that the price on these items is also quite a bit higher. And I wanted to just show one example here just so you guys get an understanding. And this is why it's really important, what I said, to have a more detailed discussion on this where, you know, if you go too far, you're going to get to a point where you feel like you might not be able to keep up. Because just as an example, the tier 3 Star's Breath's Moon's Breath, the name of that for the tier 3 one is these solar protections right here. And you can see that if you were to end up buying these in the Mari shop, just 3 of these alone is going to cost you 150 blue crystals. Now, that's just for 3 of them. So, you know, just so you can get an idea, yeah, the math still technically says yes, because if you actually end up going and taking a look at the market, you'll see that the tier 3 materials are all incredibly expensive. And if you look at these solar protections, you'll see that they actually are going to set you back right now, at the time of me recording this video, almost 1,000 gold each. So if you get 3 of them for 150 blue crystals, and this is actually something that I want to demonstrate that you can actually kind of use for any decision when it comes to is it worth buying from the Mari shop or not. And what you can actually do is you can take a look at the price of them on the market. We can see that a solar protection right now is almost 1,000 gold. If we look at the Mari shop, you can get a package of 3 of them for 150 blue crystals. So 1 solar protection from the Mari shop is 50 blue crystals. And if you actually go to the currency exchange, if you were to buy 50 blue crystals, how much gold would that cost you? Well, currently right now, and again, these numbers, the exact numbers are not important. It's kind of the idea of how to do this that's more important than the numbers itself. But just as an example, at the time of me recording this, 500 gold approximately for 100 blue crystals. So if a solar protection is 50 blue crystals each, if you buy it from Mari, it's basically like you're buying them for 250 gold instead of buying them for 930 to 1,000 gold off the market. Now, again, the math is always going to say yes when it comes to this stuff, if it's worth buying or if it's not. But even though the math ends up saying yes, it's worth it, it's still really easy to end up spending a ton of blue crystals, especially with tier 3 materials, with how high the price actually goes. And there's actually more stuff that they've added that you can actually, you know, buy from the Mari shop. There's these new things, these solar blessings, and then there's another one as well. It's actually, I don't know if Mari has one right now, but you'll see them on the market. There's 3 different ones. What's the other 2? The Solar Grace, this is the green one. And then there's the blue one, which the Mari shop does actually have. The solar blessing. So there's more stuff that you can actually end up buying in the Mari shop now. The prices have gone up. It's really easy to just be super overwhelmed. And one thing I will say, if those of you guys who are not in tier 3 yet, and not even me, I'm really close, but I'm still not there yet, don't go too crazy. Don't go too overboard buying every single thing in the Mari shop that has tier 3 in it, because you're going to realize that even though, yes, the math actually says the answer is technically yes, even though the math says yes, if you start doing that, you're going to realize that even when you get into tier 3, and even if you're buying all the stuff in the Mari shop, it's still going to be a massive, massive grind, and you might feel like you're getting a bit overwhelmed. You don't want to get to a point where you feel like you are just overspending and you're going to get to a point where you feel like you need to spend real money to keep up with everything in the Mari shop. The one really solid piece of advice I will say though is before you end up buying anything tier 3 off the market, and this is whether you're a spender, a non-spender, whether you're free to play or not, the Mari shop is always going to have a better deal than what you can end up buying stuff from the market. And there's a very important reason why that's the case. And that's because the Mari shop is limited. Now put yourself in the shoes of somebody who is a massive whale and they don't care how much money they're spending on the game and they just want to upgrade their tier 3 gear as quickly as they possibly can. The thing with the Mari shop is you can only buy 6 items. There's 6 things that get listed every 6 hours in the enhancement shop and then the regular shop. But once you buy those out, that's it. So you get a good deal on possibly one of them. But if you end up wanting to upgrade your tier 3 gear, especially with how much of a grind it is to upgrade tier 3, the 1 item limit in the Mari shop every 6 hours, just buying that stuff out, it's not going to be nearly enough. So the whales are willing to go the extra mile here, and they're willing to not only buy the complete Mari shop out, they're also going to buy the stuff on the market for whatever it costs. So before you ever go to the market for any of your tier 3 resources, a big tip that I would say, don't just completely buy out the Mari shop with everything tier 3. You're going to completely overwhelm yourself. But before you do buy anything from the market, go to the Mari shop and see if it's there. And even if you don't have the blue crystals, like remember that blue crystals are not a pay to win exclusive currency. You can end up getting blue crystals with gold. So you're spending gold on the market, just use that same gold that you would be spending on the market, buy some blue crystals, and buy that copy of the item off the Mari shop instead, before you ever go to the market. That's the one really big thing that I would say. Besides that, prices for everything tier 3 are obviously a lot higher. There's those new solar blessings, there's the solar protections, there's the green one as well. I definitely feel like this was a discussion that was worth getting a bit more into detail with because it's a bit more tricky than just a simple yes or no answer when it comes to buying a lot of this stuff. And I want to kind of end off here with 2 items in particular, and one of them is something that you might actually be used to buying in the Mari shop because it is definitely worth it, and that is the leap stones. And similarly, in tier 3, the leap stones are actually a pretty darn good price, and I would still say that these are definitely going to be worth buying out. It's going to be pretty hard to go completely broke spending 5-10 blue crystals, and just like in tier 1 and tier 2, these are just a couple of blue crystals each. And keep in mind that the icon right now at the time of me recording this is actually broken. It looks like it's a bugged icon, so it looks like the destruction stones, but this is actually the leap stones, and you can get 5 of them for 10 blue crystals. So that's 2 blue crystals each, very similar to the rates of the tier 1 and the tier 2 leap stones. It's a tiny bit more, but compared to like the solar protections, which are 50 blue crystals each, getting these for 2 blue crystals each is definitely going to be worth it. Keep in mind, though, that later on in Tier 3, there's actually going to be Great Honor Leap Stones, and you can convert your Honor Leap Stones to Great Honor Leap Stones at a 5-to-1 ratio, but, Tier 3 is a lot more complicated. There's more resources, and there's also going to be another type of Leap Stone that's used later on as well. But, this one is definitely not too bad. The other one that I will say be a little bit careful on stocking up on is actually going to end up being those destruction stones. And I know they have, I think it's these like guardian stone crystals, and then the weapon ones, these destruction stone crystals. I would be a little bit careful overstocking up on these, especially if you're not in tier 3 right now, because obviously right now at the time of me recording, if we take a look at the market, we'll see that these are insanely expensive because there's very few people that are in tier 3 right now, so the supply of these is very low. But keep in mind that as time goes on, as more people enter the tier 3 bracket, and as more people are able to farm like tier 3 chaos dungeons, these are going to end up going down in price. So while they might look like they're insanely good right now, if you're not in tier 3 yet and you end up overstocking up and buying a whole bunch of these, they might not look like as good of a deal by the time that you actually get to tier 3. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that this discussion kind of opened your eyes up a little bit as to the insanity of tier 3 and maybe not going as crazy as you might have on tier 1 and tier 2. And if you did enjoy and it helped out, consider leaving a quick like, consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this, and feel free to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/salt, where I'll be streaming Lost Ark as well as other games. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and until next time.